My mother stealing my inheritance was something I never thought could happen. But the worst part wasn't the money. The worst part was standing in a courtroom, listening to my own mother tell the judge that I was the one who tried to steal from her. That moment changed the way I looked at family forever. Because the woman who used to tuck me into bed when I was a child was now trying to destroy my life. But what she didn't know was that my father had seen all of this coming long before he died. And he had left behind something that would expose everything. Something that would bring the truth crashing down on everyone involved. And when it finally happened, karma hit my mother harder than anyone expected. My name is Daniel. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. From the outside, my family looked perfect. My father, Michael, owned a successful construction company that he had built from nothing. My mother, Linda, was known around town as a charming and elegant woman who hosted fancy dinners and charity events. People admired her. They respected her. They even envied her life. But what most people didn't see was what happened behind closed doors. Because inside our house, things were very different. Growing up, my father was my hero. He was the kind of man who believed that hard work could solve almost anything. When I was 8 years old, he started taking me to his construction sites on weekends. I would walk around wearing a tiny yellow safety helmet that was way too big for my head. He would laugh every time it slipped over my eyes. But he always told me something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. He would say that a man's character was built the same way as a building, one brick at a time. And if the foundation wasn't strong, everything would eventually collapse. At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. But years later, those words would come back to haunt me. Because my family's foundation was already cracked, and none of us realized how badly it would collapse. There were 4 people in our family: my father, my mother, my younger brother Kevin, and me. Kevin was 2 years younger than me, but he lived a completely different life. While my father believed in discipline and responsibility, my mother believed in something else entirely. She believed Kevin deserved everything. From the moment we were kids, the favoritism was obvious. If Kevin broke something in the house, my mother would say it was an accident. If I broke something, I was punished. If Kevin wanted an expensive toy, my mother bought it immediately. If I asked for something, I was told to earn it. At first, I didn't really care. I loved my brother, and I assumed that things would change when we grew older. But they never did. In fact, they got worse. By the time Kevin turned 18, he had developed a taste for expensive things. Sports cars, designer clothes, parties that lasted until sunrise. The problem was that Kevin didn't like working. He dropped out of college after only 1 year. He tried working for my father's company, but he quit after 3 weeks because he said the job was too stressful. Meanwhile, I was working 12-hour days with my father, learning the business, managing projects, meeting clients, slowly building a future. But Kevin didn't care about any of that. Whenever he needed money, he went to our mother, and she always gave it to him. At first, the amounts were small, a few $100s here and there. But over time, the numbers started getting bigger, thousands of dollars, then tens of thousands. None of us realized how serious it had become until one night when my father called me into his office. I could tell something was wrong the moment I walked in. My father was sitting behind his desk staring at several sheets of paper. His face looked tense. He pushed the papers toward me. They were bank statements. Large withdrawals had been made from his accounts. Over and over again. Thousands of dollars disappearing every month. My father told me he had never authorized those transactions. At first he thought it might be a mistake. Maybe the accountant had made an error. But when he investigated further, the truth shocked him. The withdrawals had been made by my mother, and the money had been going directly to Kevin. For years, when my father confronted her, the argument that followed was the worst fight our family had ever seen. My mother screamed that Kevin deserved help. My father shouted that Kevin needed responsibility. Kevin stood there saying nothing while the entire house felt like it was about to explode. That night was the first time I realized our family might not survive. But things didn't calm down after that. Instead, they slowly got worse. Kevin kept spending money. My mother kept defending him. And my father slowly began losing trust in the woman he had been married to for 30 years. Then something happened that none of us expected. My father started having chest pains. At first he ignored them. He said it was just stress. But one day he collapsed at work. The doctors later told us he had a serious heart condition, and if he didn't get surgery soon, he might not survive. Hearing that news changed everything. My father suddenly started preparing for the possibility that he might not be around much longer. He began organizing documents, meeting lawyers, making decisions about the future of his company. One evening, he asked me to meet him at his office after work. The building was quiet. Most of the employees had already gone home. He closed the door and told me something I will never forget. He said he didn't trust my mother with his estate anymore. Hearing those words felt strange, but deep down, I understood why he felt that way. He explained that he was planning to update his will. Then he said something that shocked me. He wanted to leave the business to me. Not to Kevin. Not to my mother. To me. I tried to argue with him. I told him it would tear the family apart. But he simply shook his head and said he had already made up his mind. He said I was the only one who had worked hard enough to protect what he had built. At the time, I didn't realize how dangerous that decision would become. 6 months later, my father went into surgery, and he never came out. The doctors said his heart couldn't handle the stress. Just like that, the strongest man I had ever known was gone. The funeral was one of the hardest days of my life. But something strange happened afterward. Instead of mourning, my mother became obsessed with one thing: my father's will. A few weeks later, the family gathered at the lawyer's office to hear the reading of the will. I expected the document to reflect everything my father had told me. But when the lawyer began reading it, my heart sank. The will said that my mother inherited everything: the house, the company, all the money. Kevin received a large portion as well, and I received almost nothing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because I knew exactly what my father had told me months earlier. After the meeting, I confronted my mother. She calmly told me that my father must have changed his mind before he died. But something about her reaction felt wrong. A few weeks later, things took an even darker turn. My mother accused me of trying to manipulate my father before his death. She told relatives that I had pressured him to leave me the business. Soon those rumors reached the lawyer, and eventually the situation exploded into a legal battle. My own mother was preparing to fight me in court. The day of the trial felt surreal. Sitting in that courtroom while my mother testified against me was one of the most painful experiences of my life. She told the judge that I had always been greedy, that I wanted control of the company, that my father had changed the will to protect the family from me. Listening to those lies felt unbearable. But then something unexpected happened. Our lawyer stood up and told the judge there was additional evidence that needed to be presented. He revealed that my father had left behind a recorded video message. A message meant to be shown if anyone ever challenged his true intentions. When the video started playing in the courtroom, everyone fell silent. My father appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. He explained that he had suspected someone might try to manipulate his will after his death. So he had taken precautions. He had created a second legally protected will that could not be altered. And in that will, the majority of his estate and the entire company were left to me. The courtroom erupted in shock. My mother's face went completely pale. The judge immediately ordered an investigation into the original document. What they discovered was devastating. The first will had been altered. Signatures had been forged. Documents had been manipulated. And the person responsible was my own mother. Within months, the truth destroyed everything she had tried to build. The court ruled completely in my favor. My father's true will was enforced. The company was transferred to me. My mother lost control of the estate. But that wasn't the end of it. The investigation uncovered evidence of financial fraud, years of illegal withdrawals, forgery, and attempted inheritance fraud. Eventually, my mother faced criminal charges. The woman who tried to steal everything ended up losing far more than she ever imagined. Kevin disappeared shortly after the trial. Without my mother supporting him, his lifestyle collapsed. As for me, I took over my father's company. The first year was incredibly difficult, but slowly, I rebuilt what he had started. Today the business is stronger than ever, and sometimes I still think about the lesson my father taught me when I was a child. A building is only as strong as its foundation, because when the foundation cracks, everything eventually collapses. And in my family, the truth finally revealed just how broken that foundation really was.